Hey there and welcome back to another Aardman video. And today I want to talk a little bit about Arthur Christmas and how it's a Christmas film that truly deserves so much better. Released in 2011, Arthur Christmas tells the story of Arthur Christmas, the youngest son of the 20th and current Santa Claus, Malcolm. All of his life, Arthur's been a bit of a screw-up, enamored with his father and a true Christmas fanatic, but unable to find his place in the North Pole. And meanwhile, his brother Stephen's revolutionized the Christmas run, pretty much turning their father into a glorified figurehead and making things more and more clinical and commercial as they go. And after yet another successful Christmas, after which Malcolm decides to keep on going as Santa for yet another year, despite it being expected that he was about to retire, a cleaning elf finds a present that's been missed. And thus, it's realised that there's a child out there that didn't get her proper gift from Santa. And while Steve makes it clear that they can't deliver the gift, which causes Malcolm to fall in line, Arthur's grandfather, Grand Santa, hoping for a last chance at glory and a chance to show up Malcolm and Steve, convinces Arthur to come with him on a traditional sleigh, Evie, to deliver the gift to Gwen in Trelew, England, alongside the elf Bryony. And so the three go off on a grand adventure, which has many twists and turns before arriving at their destination, until it's revealed that they've arrived at the wrong Trelew, on the other side of the world, and that Grand Santa had never cared about the child at all, and just wanted to stick it to the youngsters. And so after some soul searching, the trio set off once more to Trelew, England, the correct one this time, with Malcolm and Steve in hot pursuit. They all arrive, and Malcolm realises that it's Arthur who truly embodies what it means to be Santa. And so with Steve's blessing, Arthur is named the brand new Santa Claus for the next year's mission, and combines Steve's new innovations with Grand Santa's older, more classic school of thought. And then he combines that with his own Christmas fanaticism to craft the ultimate festive experience. The end. A true Christmas classic. And I think at the time of its release, the world agreed. It was a classic. In terms of its critical approval, it has a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a very good score. And on top of that, it has an audience score of 76%, which, it's lower, but at the same time, I don't think it's a terrible score at all. Plenty of films have scores like that, and they're considered very, very good. And so it's more the box office where things start to look a little bit wonky. In terms of its budget, Arthur Christmas cost around $100 million to make, and it grossed at the box office $147 million. And, that's honestly pretty bad, all things considered, surprisingly bad. And I realize that Aardman's never really been a studio known for its massive box office appeal. After all, when they worked with DreamWorks, they were consistently a lower draw than the majority of the DreamWorks original films. But still, this definitely feels like a bit of a financial failure for me, more than just a low box office. And really, that high budget just serves to make it all seem so much worse. And so I can't help but feel a little bit sad, because at DreamWorks, the studio were at least making a lot of good films, but they never got the financial rewards they deserved. And I think that was largely due to stop motion just not being an audience draw, in my opinion, at least based on the box office records. But then they go and work with Sony Animation, and they make a 3D computer animated film, and yet they were still unable to crack the box office to a considerable degree. And as to why that is, who knows? Maybe it's because Sony Animation was still relatively a new studio at that point in time? Or maybe it was the fact that it was an Aardman film. Is their brand tainted or something? Maybe the competition at the time of its release was steep. Who really knows at this point? All that is certain is that the film was a relative flop from a commercial point of view, which, well, yeah, that's clear. But it also seems like a bit of a disappointment from a critical point of view, because despite its good reviews, the film really didn't go on to have much staying power or much prestige. Shit, it somehow didn't even get a nomination for Best Animated Picture. Rango ended up winning that year, and fair enough, it's a good film. But it was also somehow behind Puss in Boots 1 and Kung Fu Panda 2, and I'm not going to say it deserved to win the category, right? But surely it edges out at least Puss in Boots from the nominations, right? Right? And honestly, it is a massive shame, because this film's genuinely good in so many ways. And it's up there with Klaus as one of my all-time favourite Christmas films, and is a must-watch for me every year. And of course, it's now time to gush about the film itself, because, yeah, it's great. The story itself is heartwarming and sweet. It's the classic Christmas formula, where the young, enthusiastic hero teaches the older, more cynical family members about the true meaning of Christmas, and gets them to break out of their rut. It also has a nice side plot of not sacrificing all tradition in the sake of progress, and that it's best to try and find a balance between the two sides. Heavily focusing on tradition leaves you stuck in a rut, but pushing forward too quickly without looking back makes you too clinical and cut off. And this is represented by Grand Santa and Steve, with Arthur being the middle ground, the character that represents that concept of the best of both worlds compromise. The script itself, the dialogue, the plot points, they're all genuinely very funny. A great mix of dry wit and sarcasm, absurd plot development, slapstick, and strange yet hilarious throwaway lines. And then this combines with a stellar cast that put out a genuinely great performance, which is very refreshing, because honestly, there wasn't a single weak link in the cast. And realistically, I feel like that's always the case with Aardman films. They always manage to pump out a really impressive voice cast and make the most out of their actors. They don't necessarily pursue top, big name talent, not to disparage the cast that they do get, but they pursue genuinely talented actors that are perfect for the roles that they've been cast in. Seriously, whoever's in charge of casting at Aardman deserves just all the praise. Beyond that, whilst I think in the 11 years, oh god, has it really been 11 years? Where's the time going? Anyway, in the 11 years since its release, the quality of the animation, it has decreased, but at the time of its release, it still looked very good. We were still a long way off from the hyper-realism that we see now, but for its time, it was very good visually. And it fit right in with the releases from Disney and Pixar, DreamWorks, and I guess Illumination. Had they burst onto the scene by this point in time? When did Despicable Me come out? 2010? Oh, 12 years ago. God. So yeah, it fits in visually with all of those films, which is probably a reason why the budget was so high. And then on top of that, they have a very distinct visual style that I really enjoy. I especially loved the character designs and how you could tell they were all related in that they shared similar features that links each family member together, but they're also kept very distinct as well. And I also really enjoyed how they managed to infuse Christmas vibes into the small little details, like how Steve's goatee is fashioned into the shape of a Christmas tree. Beyond that, the score, I don't remember it being all that memorable if I'm being honest with you. It had some Christmas songs and carols thrown in, I'm sure, but I don't think it was anything that really jumped out at you and drew you in. And unlike a lot of animated films, it didn't have a track that I felt like I want to come back to listen to on repeat every so often. And so yeah, great visuals for the time, a really powerful narrative, top tier voice performances, excellent reviews, and yet it was a financial flop that bombed at the box office. And so I can't help but say that Arthur Christmas, it really did deserve better. But anyway, with all that being said, these were just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of Arthur Christmas if you've seen it? Do you like it, hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.